when you're winning, you get really overconfident and you think you can win anywhere.
Yeah.
So I thought like, all right, we have savings. I'll burn through some savings. We just bought this big, beautiful house and all these things. And I just remember being like, yeah, we'll be able to monetize this. I'm an entrepreneur. I got this. And it was attack after attack after attack after attack. And to the point where, we we started to like really bleed cash, and I needed to go back into fitness for a period of time, and the business took off. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just stay online and still be able to do this podcast thing. And the business took off, and I was feeling really good about it. And then COVID hit. We didn't have the infrastructure built because everyone was holding tight to their cash, and it was a high ticket business. And we went through some really, really tough times.
Welcome back to That Christian Business Podcast. I'm excited for another episode. And today I have with me Chris Farrell. Chris is a new friend, someone that I actually found and met through LinkedIn. He was interviewing a buddy of mine, Coburn, and noticed on LinkedIn that we were connected to a few different people, but also have some oddly unique life paths and vocational paths. Chris is a father of 6, husband of 1. That's an important
husband of 1. Yes,
that's an important factor there. And Chris Farrell Media is your primary business. And so today we're going to talk through a bunch of different things, including podcasts, because not only are you on this today, but you are a man of many podcasts.
Man.
So we're going to dive into that space, talk a little bit about AI, jump into a few different areas, and just see kind of where God leads us. So you ready to jump in?
I love it, Greg. I'm excited, man.
All right. So just to give people context, give me a little idea of what is Chris Farrell Media?
Yeah. So Chris Farrell Media was born as a result of the podcast world and what I felt like God was calling me into. And it's been an evolution, man. It's taken time. We've wandered through the desert many times, and I don't even feel like we're fully out of it, to be honest. It's been a business that has really the basic premise, Greg, is that podcasts can really produce opportunities. It can produce relationships. It can produce, client acquisition, because it's human connection, man. And in a world of AI right now, I think that one of the most important things is going to be that people are tight in networks. People can know, like, and trust each other, and podcasts do that well. And so I leverage Chris Farrell Media and podcasts in many ways.
And so what does like a standard client look like? Like, what does it look like to work with them? What do you do with them?
Good question. So I have a few different types of offers, but right now I would say one that's really effective would be anybody who is trying to get in front of a decision maker from a place of not chasing them, right? But from a place of actually being peer to peer. And so, for instance, I've built shows for attorneys before, where it's been like, man, I'm working with all of these VAs and we're running ads and we're doing all this stuff, but we're not really getting any traction. And so essentially the process has been building them a show that would attract their ideal customer to have a conversation with them. It's not one of those things where you're like, this has to be a bait and switch. I have to get clients from this. It's just the fact that I always give this example. If you and your wife are like, yeah, I think we want to build a house in North Carolina at some point in the next few years. And you're looking on Google, you're searching for all these people, and you're thinking to yourself, man, there's so many people that could build a house for me. But then you show up to a birthday party for one of your kids' friends, and you meet someone and you like them and you trust them, and you can just see they have good bones. And you find out they built a house. I mean, are you going to have a consult with that guy eventually?
Right.
If you want to build a
Absolutely.
house, most likely. And so that's really the premise. Is it's podcasts produce opportunities because it allows people to have conversations. But in specific, we don't build shows that are surface level or substance based. So, like for an attorney, I'd never have him build a show that was legal. I'd have him build a show that would actually create alignment from a values perspective. And so that's what we've been able to do. And clients end up making money before we launched the show because they're in front of the right people and they're already good people and they're good at what they do.
Yeah. So give me a little, you don't have to give the exact example with this lawyer, but give me a little idea of what that means, values based versus like creating a legal podcast. Like, what is the premise of a show like that?
For sure. So an example would be if I'm trying to get a hold of businessmen, what do they value? And what do we align on? Okay. Do I have kids? Do my typical clients, are they people who would align with me from a spiritual perspective, from a family values perspective, from just an integrity perspective, as far as like how they internally operate? And in most cases, the people that you work with, that you love to work with, you align from a values perspective. So you build a show that you want to host, right? It's not a burden to you.
Right.
And you build a show that they want to come on. To be a little bit more specific, the show we built for this guy was actually forging a legacy in the state of Florida. Forging a legacy in the state of Florida. And he wanted to reach Florida business owners. So he reached out with the angle of forging a legacy in the state of Florida. Would you like to have a conversation with me about this? People say yes.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I like that viewpoint. I think it's easy to lean into the exact direction that the business is in.
Yes.
Like, and maybe that's not what their ideal client actually wants to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a unique perspective.
Yeah,
I like that.
People love to share their wisdom, to share their stories, all the things.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get in their head about followership and all that stuff. Honestly, up front, just having a show puts you peer to peer instantly.
Yeah.
And when you bring a place to them, which what we build is called a magnetic angle. I built a magnetic angle for that customer to come have a conversation with you. I mean, I had a guy who he didn't even buy from my client, but he ended up being like one of Dana White's best friends. And they drove a few hours to meet each other and have coffee and built a really strong friendship. And so you never know where those things are going to go, but brotherhood is important for men and relationships are important for people.
Yeah. I love that. So for you in the podcast space, you have been a part of and are currently a part of many different podcasts. So first, what are those podcasts that you're actively a part of? And then this is somewhat of an ironic question for me as someone who runs multiple podcasts, but why are you a part of so many podcasts? So lay it out for me. Yeah.
So some shows have NDAs behind them.
Yep.
But the ones that I could say are on my sites and stuff. So one would be the Family Captain, and that is a role where we basically built a show that would take an existing audience and bring them to a podcast conversation that would frame, I can help you. Like we're going to go through real-time things that the avatar is dealing with. And I'm actually the host on the show. And so I co-host him on every episode. We're like 75 some episodes in, and it's been the top of funnel for their business. And 70% of their sales calls come in as a result of it.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun and, total passion project for me. I actually was a client of the Family Captain.
Yeah.
And so when we built this, it was a total God thing and tons of alignment. So that's one. Another would be, and this show's not currently active for multiple reasons, just personally with the actual owner of the show. But another was a grief podcast. And that was actually my college basketball coach who lost his wife, 5 kids, left those 5 kids behind, and he was grieving. And he had so many lessons to share about grief and working through it in real time. And everyone's like, write a book, you're such a good writer. And I was like, dude, you considered podcast? And it came at the perfect time for me. And it was a total godsend for him, for those who were stuck in grief as well.
And you're a host on that as well?
I was the host of that. And then we started bringing on guests, and I would host the guests, and then he would host the guest, and we kind of tag teamed it.
And then you have a marriage one. Is that correct?
Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage. And that's been around for 7 years. We're 140 some odd episodes in. My wife and I always say no one would listen if it wasn't for my wife. She's a great communicator, and we just have a good time just going back and forth. But we talk about real things, man.
Yeah.
Like we talk about it all. There's nothing off limits,
Mm.
and that's called Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage.
And so was that the first podcast you said 7 years ago?
So the first podcast was the Fit Dad Life, and
Okay.
this may be a good time to just kind of give you the origin story of
Sure.
how I got into podcasting. All I ever wanted to do was own a fitness studio,
Mm.
and God made a way through multiple flexes of risk, if you will. And we came to a point where, we had 3 under 3 at the time. My wife was at home. I'm running this fitness studio at the top floor of a church. We're profitable. Clients are happy. Everything's good. And I decided to start a podcast called The Fit Dad Life. I wanted to talk to men who were physically, financially, and relationally fit. Why? Because I wanted to be physically, financially, and relationally fit. That's another piece of this is if you want to be in circles of people, start a show that attracts them, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning of my whole business now. That was 2019, 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was my first show. Man, I'll never forget. Like I used I think it's called Anchor. Spotify bought them out. But
Anchor FM.
yeah, I used Anchor FM on my phone. I just remember sitting in my fitness studio on the floor, just like talking into my phone. And I felt like such an idiot. I was like, no one's going to care what I have to say. And it turned out that there was something natural about my curiosity with people. And so it started to do something, but that was my first show.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay. And so that opened up this idea to wanting and enjoying doing podcasts.
Well, so yes,
Yeah.
I was putting a lot of effort into that because I had trainers training for me and all the things. But honestly, Greg, man, it was, how you are sitting in church and they're passing around the offering plate. Let's just say a big church, and the screen comes up and it's the cinematic story of the people that heard from God. And you're like, never experienced this very obvious call from God. We had one of those moments. I'll never forget it, man. Under my gym was a coffee shop, and my wife was at home with our 3 under 3. She was struggling with postpartum depression. Everything was good. We were profitable. Life was good. I had everything I thought I ever wanted from a business perspective. Of course, I wanted to grow. And I'm just sitting there feeling empty, man. Just empty and burnt out and just confused.
Mm.
And I always prayer journal. So I open up my laptop and I'm just prayer journaling like, Lord, why do I feel this way? And just for some reason, it was the weirdest thing. My fingers just start like, shut the business down, shut the business down, shut the business down. And I'm like, what the? No way. Slam my laptop shut. Like, that was weird. What the heck? So I walk upstairs to my gym and just feeling empty, man. And I remember the lights are off. I'm waiting for my clients to come in, and I'm staring out this window. And my phone vibrates in my pocket. And I pick it up, and it's my wife, Jonna. And she's like, you are going to freak out. I'm like, what? I'm like, just tell me. She's like, you're going to lose it. I was like, what? And she said, I felt like in my devotions this morning, the Lord made it so clear. We are going to shut the business down in May. And dude, I was like, how could you have even known?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that led to us just needing to get away and go to the mountains together and just pray and listen and seek the Lord. And he affirmed that we were going to shut the business down, and we shut it down, and we went full force into podcasting.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
How did you navigate that season? What was the fear, anxiety? Did you feel like, knowing that it was a calling, did you feel a sense of confidence in it? Or what did that balance of anxiety, fear, and trusting the Lord look like?
Yeah. I think a lot of entrepreneurs would resonate with this. When you're winning, you get really overconfident.
Sure.
And you think you can win anywhere.
Yeah.
So I thought, like, all right, we have savings. I'll burn through some savings. We just bought this big, beautiful house and all these things. And I just remember being like, yeah, we'll be able to monetize this. I'm an entrepreneur. I got this. And it was attack after attack after attack after attack. And to the point where, we we started to like really bleed cash, and I needed to go back into fitness for a period of time. Felt like God was calling me back into fitness just to kind of stay afloat. I went online, and the business took off, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just stay online and still be able to do this podcast thing. And the business took off, and I was feeling really good about it. And then COVID hit, and we didn't have the infrastructure built because everyone was holding tight to their cash, and it was a high ticket business. And we went through some really, really tough times. Yeah.
So what helped you to make that transition and keep making it through?
Yeah. I look back at that season, Greg, and we were broke, and there was no reason to like really have connection with each other outside of just having a relationship with the Lord, man. Like we were so close. We were so close and so tight and just dependent on God, like week after week after week. And I think what got us through is God just kept providing through miraculous ways. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So we bought this beautiful house in East Cincinnati, and we were going to a new church, and we decided, my wife just randomly was like, we should host a community group. It's like, we just got here. What? I said, okay, whatever. I'm cool with it. So we agreed to host a community group. We call it Community in Chaos because we have a bunch of kids. And we were hoping to attract people with a bunch of kids that understood chaos. And a couple emails us and says, hey, we'd like to join your group. And we said, we give them our address. And they were like, you're not going to believe this. We built and lost that house. And so the very people that were going to our church that joined the community group come into our house for the first time after they had lost it, right? And we now own it. And they became some of our best friends. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because during COVID, when we were struggling, we were to the point where we couldn't even afford our mortgage. I never missed a mortgage payment, thank God. But we couldn't afford our mortgage. And this friend, Joey, calls me one day and he's like, how you doing, man? I was like, I'm hanging in there. He's like, no. Like, how are you? I was like, we're struggling, man, but we'll be all right. And he's like, I need to tell you something. I'm like, okay. And he's like, I got a bonus at work and God told me to pay your mortgage. I was like, what? No, dude, like, absolutely not. No. And he's like, no, dude, I already talked to my wife, and like the same thing was affirmed for her. And so the people who lost the house that we bought, that God connected us with an amazing community group of people that became some of our best friends, literally paid our mortgage so we wouldn't lose the house that they lost. So it's just like stuff like that just gives you incredible confidence that God will provide.
Yeah. Those are huge. There's lots of seasons where we are in that, where you need to be close to him to provide, yet we don't want that.
Yeah.
Like we want the other side of it.
Yeah.
And so that's something I'm still trying to work through, is how do you find not only joy, but peace in those seasons where you recognize your nearness to the Lord is higher because of your dependency, and actually like rejoice in that.
Yeah.
Which is not an easy task to do. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, with Christian entrepreneurs, we have the added advantage of knowing it's not all up to us. It's not all up to us. I look at all these entrepreneurs who are just like, I'm the man, I'm him, and they're obsessive about what they're building, and they feel like everything's up to them. There have been times where I feel like everything is such a weight on my shoulders, man. And I am so at peace knowing that God is in control. And so as a Christian, I get to lean back on that. And there were seasons of like feeling that elephant on my chest, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And just pacing my office, like, how do I create opportunities during COVID and we don't have money and all the things? But God provided in so many miraculous ways. I mean, that was just one story.
Yeah.
There's several.
Yeah, right now I'm in the midst of reading this book called Leadership as an Identity by Crawford Loritz. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. But a big section of the book is talking about brokenness and dependency within the brokenness and sort of our need for brokenness as leaders. So that's really been challenging me. But also in that section, it talked about like wanting to step into things that literally will fail unless God shows up. And so I don't mean, buying a mansion because you envision a business that God needs to be there or you won't pay that mortgage, but more like a vision for what your family and your business are doing, that if God isn't there, it can't be accomplished, but you know that it is good and that He is calling you into it. And so I'm trying to think through that because I think my natural tendency, especially since I've spent the majority of my career in that solo entrepreneur to solo plus one employee, to like fear things that would require actually building a team before I know that there's full provision there. Or building something that actually requires more substantial money to even operate. Not with the desire just to make a ton more money, but to accomplish something bigger.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm trying to work through, is how do you allow those seasons to happen and actually thrive in them because of the nearness to the Lord?
I know this is for entrepreneurs, but I just think the question I'm always asking guys is, I'm just like, are you depending on the Lord? Are you in a season of depending on the Lord? Like to the point where if He doesn't come through, I am hosed.
Yeah.
And if not, like, are you playing big enough, man? Are you playing big enough? I mean, dude, like all of us are going to be 6 feet under one day and our souls will live on. And I find great comfort in knowing that God is in control. I get one life. And if my intentions are pure to not to build something, man,
right,
that is going to glorify me, because Ecclesiastes makes it very clear. Like it's all rust. But just to wring myself out, man, for the glory of God and who He created me to be. Like, God, what do you want from me? I mean, we see on the news every day, someone passes away and you're just like, why wasn't that me? Like, what do you want from me, Lord? And then my wife and I always say it, like the most dangerous prayer you can pray is our yes is on the table, because He'll fill your hands fast.
Yep. Absolutely. So shifting gears just a little bit,
Sure.
back into the realm of podcasts.
Yeah.
When people come to you and they're like, Chris, I want to start a podcast. How are you helping decide whether that's a good fit for them or not? How do you help them understand whether that's a wise endeavor?
Honestly, man, everyone has ideas.
Yeah.
And saying I want to start a podcast is like saying I want to get fit. Like, dude, just start. You don't need me to start a podcast unless you have a vision behind why you want to start it. So it's like, I want to start a podcast. I have good things to say. Cool. What? No, I want to start a podcast because I want to be in the room with people that, like, I want to see how they operate and I want to learn from them, and I want mentors to sit with me, and I want to see who people were with their back against the wall and how they depended on the Lord. And I have this burning desire, I have this story of trauma that I know is gonna help people. That's a better answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the layperson who says I want to start a podcast, everybody says that. I'm just like, cool. Like, what do you want to do with it? What's the point?
I think back in the day, I don't know what the percentage would be, but it was a large percentage of people. If you were to ask them on their bucket list, if they wanted to write a book someday, that would be pretty high.
Yeah.
And I think this generation and the future generations is having a podcast, is the writing a book. I still want to write a book.
Yeah, man. Do it.
But it actually needs to have like real meaning behind it, not just to do it. And so God has not made that clear what that book is and what's actually needed. Because I love the perspective, specifically with a book, and you could use this in the same context for a podcast, is when an author's like, this is the book that I wish I could read, but I can't find it, but I have the background to write it. So then you write it. Versus like, I want to write a book on leadership. Like I just referenced Crawford Loritz. But there's hundreds of them, and there's nothing unique about my angle to leadership. I just want to write it. Like it's probably not worth doing unless you have a little more clarity. So with a podcast perspective, I think you could kind of do that as well. Like on one side, it can be on what you're saying, which is there are conversations that I personally want to be having with these kind of people. And then that makes sense. Or I'm not hearing these conversations anywhere. I want to help cultivate a space for those to be had.
Yeah.
And I think those are both.
Yeah. And also,
places.
I think it always goes back to just pointing to yourself and being like, am I living a life worth telling a story about? Am I living a life worth writing a book about? Because the interesting part is you can have all of these tactical things in a book, but tactics don't really move people.
Right.
Tactics don't really, like, everyone knows what to do. And there's still very, very overweight people. It's like, I mean, all the answers are there, right? And so really what it comes down to is it's story. It's am I playing big enough? Kind of back to that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I don't know if you've ever read any books by Donald Miller.
The story brand guy. Yeah.
So before that, he was a Christian novelist.
Really?
Blue Like Jazz was like his first big book. And so 2000, I think it was 2004. I was a sophomore in college, and maybe that book had come out not long before that. And we were handing it out to people because it was a great book to his perspective on faith. It was very honest. It was very honest and open. Merge those words together. Right. It was really unique. But he came and spoke at our college, and he was probably like 350, 400 pounds.
Really?
Like really big guy, not who I expected. And now leading StoryBrand and stuff, like he's quite fit. He lost all that weight and all that. And there's this book he wrote called A Million Miles in 1,000 Years. It's a great book about story in general. But in that, he talked about like living into a story that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
And he's like, going to the gym just to lose weight, there wasn't enough of a story there to invite himself into that was meaningful. But when some friends of his, including, I believe there was a girl he was interested in, wanted to hike Machu Picchu and they invited him to come along, he came to the conclusion, if I don't get in better shape, I will die climbing Machu Picchu.
For sure.
And then later he got invited to ride bicycles across the United States.
Oh my gosh.
And so again, if I don't get into better shape, I will die. And those stories have stuck with me. And those are stories that are meaningful and reasons why to lose weight, to get into better shape, and to do something. But when you're just like, I know there's techniques to do it. I know technically how to do it, but it doesn't invite you into something bigger.
Right. Exactly. And not to get like too in the weeds from a fitness perspective, but I think that not enough people will say it, but I think everybody knows that your body is your billboard, and it is the best way to show your discipline before you open your mouth. Some people are obsessive over it, and you could tell they're obsessive over it, and you're like, there's some serious imbalance there.
Yeah.
And some people are just like, I have to respect this, not only because this is a temple of the Lord, like God gave me this body, but also because it is a reflection of your discipline and whether you keep the promises to yourself and whether you can create balance in your life that for the important things. Like my wife and I work out every day of our lives, every day. Why? Why do I work out every day? Because I have to draw a bright yellow line that does not let me negotiate with myself at all. So sometimes it's a mile run. And I'm just like, whatever, like done. Sometimes it's a half-mile run because I had a long day and I'm like just struggling. Sometimes it's longer, but every single day we work out. And I've gone through seasons where I've tried to not draw the bright yellow line, but with 6 kids and all the things, like it's super important. And so anybody that would listen to this, and hopefully they'll reframe fitness for you. Because some people are just like, yeah, I'm not gonna get fit or really put a lot of effort into take care of my body. And I'm just like, dude, it's really good for business because people see that. And then also there are just a lot of representations of who you are and how you operate.
It's also hard as an entrepreneur when you're grinding.
It's brutal
to to not be working out at all.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't help you mentally. It doesn't help you with focus and discipline, like you're saying,
right?
If you're not doing some form of it. And it's one of the easiest things to drop off.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just don't have time for it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, last year I did the run 1 mile every day.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
think I missed, can't remember exactly. It was like 15 days or something total, but I've made up the mileage in other days. And then this year I was like done with the challenge, and it's easy to be like, hey, I skipped a week of running.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, but you've brought up books, Atomic Habits, and James Clear. He has this great segment about evidence for your brain. Like evidence for your brain that you are who you say you are. And if you're not, it's delusion. And so really taking that into account and saying like, okay, like I've got to build evidence for my brain that I am who I say I am. And man, just from like, I'm super proud of my wife. She homeschools. We've got 6 kids, and there's every excuse in the world for her not to take care of herself from a working out perspective every day. She and I started working out every day, December 2024. And she has not missed a single day. I missed 3 days because I got the flu so bad I couldn't even like squat. I was just like, all right, my streak is over. My healthy streak is still going. But yeah.
Yeah. And that side, I mean, people have different perspectives.
Yeah.
Like what I find is some of that you have to check on like your heart with legalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, and literally I was doing a fast the other day, longest fast I've ever done. And I was trying to do a 3-day fast, and around 70 hours in, 72 would be technically 3 days.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Based on, we had small group that night. We were going to go out the next day for our anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
We had different things that it was like, it'd be helpful for me to eat something light at 5 p.m. instead of 7 p.m., which is when the 72 hours would have been, to start to get my stomach back to being able to be normal so I can go on my date with my wife at lunch.
Yeah, 3 days
the
is a
next
long time,
day.
man.
And
fast.
And so, but I was like, but it's not 72 hours. And so I kept wrestling back and forth with like, do I just push through, do the 72, and maybe it negatively impacts me? I kind of told the Lord I would do 3 days. So am I not fulfilling that? Mm-hmm. But then I was just kind of like, no, I think I'm more wanting to be able to say that I hit 3 days exactly for my own pride than I do for trying to honor the Lord.
Very good.
And so when it became a question, I was like, all right, I'm going to break the fast now because this is becoming not about God. This is becoming about me. So I can see how that can, if you're not careful, it's like the streak. I don't want to break the streak because this is who I am, versus like, there may be a day where it's like, man, I need to just to be present for my family or this or that.
I've tried both.
Yeah.
I've tried both. And this is better because I know, and I don't care much about the streak. It's just kind of fun to know that we have it because we drew the bright yellow line. And as a guy who's been in fitness for 13 years and all the things before I jumped into podcasting, man, I'm telling you, like, you have to draw a bright yellow line. And people think it's obsessive, and that's okay. But you have to realize, like, and we're getting off on a bit of a tangent on this stuff, but you have to realize everything is engineered against you. Your phone is engineered for you to sit and stare at it. The
Yeah.
food is engineered for you to eat another chip. And I mean, I don't know if people know this or not, but literally, the foods that are created, the snack foods, all that stuff, they've literally hired scientists who understand like what the crunch is, the perfect ratio of crunch and salt and all the things. And I don't want to nerd out too bad, but it's just everything is against you. And so people could look at it and say, oh, there's some legalism behind drawing a bright yellow line and having a streak around those things. But honestly, I'm not a machine. I only do that because I have a lot to live for.
Yeah.
I have a lot of kids depending on me, and my wife depending on me, and I've got to do my part.
Yeah.
I think it's more selfish for them to have to worry about my health in my old age and my mobility and all the things, as a result of just thinking it's not important.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. That's good. So we're going to spin the wheel.
Ooh,
Are you ready to spin the
yeah,
wheel?
man. Let's hit it.
Let's bring this thing out. Let's see. It's only been, I think this is third episode.
Wow.
So you'll have to see.
Okay.
Only a few things have been spun so far. So give her a spin. And I'll explain it once you do.
Let's see what we got here. Oh,
What does it say?
Art of Failure.
Art of Failure. All right.
Feel like you had a magnet on that one.
So Art of Failure. What is an area in business specifically that you have failed that you can see God's redemption within it, and or that you can retrospectively look back on and see where you could grow from it?
I have failed so many times.
I'm right there with you, buddy.
I have been broke so many times. I've had insane amounts of doubt that like I can do it. And I've wanted to run from entrepreneurship, and God has pulled me back. So the redemption is is still ongoing.
Yeah.
I don't mean to twist this question, but like I would be more successful if, oh, this is going to sound weird.
Let's hear it.
I would be more successful if I was not so worried about gaining the world and losing my soul and losing my kids, and my wife, and not being there for them in like their most formidable years, because I think of work all the time.
Yep.
I'm in between my years all the freaking time, dude.
Yep.
And the failure is my lack of presence with my family. And then the guilt I feel when I'm working, when I know I need to be working, but I also know I can't turn my brain off when I leave the office.
Yeah.
And so, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a hard one to
So
articulate.
how do you, I mean, that's a failure that I continue to struggle with. So how do you navigate that personally? How do you find that balance?
Which part? The failing in business or the
More in the like
presence?
being, that presence side.
Yeah. Boundaries, bright yellow lines. Again, it's like I cannot, I don't have the willpower to say I'll be more present. I don't have it. And so what do I have to do? I have to put my office, I have to put my phone in my office. And I have to leave it there. And I have to realize like, okay, if we're having dinner at 5:15, 5:30, and we have another 2 hours just to kind of like get everything cleaned up and getting the evening shifted towards bedtime, I know that my phone is in my office. Now, I'm not leaving it there and not touching it. I'm going up and I'm checking it.
Yeah.
But it's in my office because there's too many notifications coming in. I'm the guy with 500 some odd unread text messages, you know? So there's too many notifications. There's too many things to do. There's too many things. Dude, I'm like obsessive about the results.
Yeah.
So it's like if I have a client, we just launched a show, and like I'm checking analytics, and I'm like, ooh, what could we have done better? And so it never ends.
Right.
It never ends, dude. And so it's the bright yellow line of just leaving my phone up there. Sometimes my kids get me because I forgot, and they're like, hey, and go put it up there.
Yeah. That's good. That honestly leads into a question I had a little further down, but it's probably worth talking about right now,
Sure.
which is the concept of like how much work is too much work, as a Christian entrepreneur. And so, like, to tee that up a little bit, like you just alluded to, there's never a lack of things that we can work on. And so I have that tension all the time, even in a season for us business wise, where financially it hasn't been great. Like, we haven't had enough of the right kinds of projects financially. I still can work over 40 hours if I want to, and completely fill up that time with like building out the things that I'm building, prospecting, trying to grow the business, trying to do the projects that I have well. For us, I only have 3 kids compared to 6.
Hey man, three was hard too. 3 was hard too.
But from a very early time in having kids, as much as I could in the video production world, I would set 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. as like my work block. And so if I was on a shoot, some days a video shoot could be 12 hours, and those happen. But if I was working in the studio, working on editing and stuff like that, I would want to, so it wasn't exactly 8 to 4. I would walk my kids to school as many days as I could. And so that put me in the office about 8:30. And then I would get home by 4:30 and try to shut off. And it was a challenge because I knew to achieve some of the things that I wanted to achieve. And even when we were living in San Diego, one of the biggest reasons we left is affordability.
Yeah.
And at this stage of life, with the age of our kids, with adopting our son, it was very important to me that my wife didn't work, that she could stay home. And so that meant I either needed to all of a sudden just start making more money, like be more profitable, or I needed to work more hours to do it. And so we came to the conclusion, like, Kristen working and me working more hours were really non-negotiable in that season. And so, but I know other Christians who are very much from the mindset of, like, there are seasons when you need to burn and you need to put in that extra for the years ahead. So I'm curious for you, how do you navigate having 6 children, wanting to invest intentionally in your wife and kids, but knowing that work could never end if you wanted it to?
Dude, let me just tell you, like, what I do in the mornings.
Yep.
So my wife and I both wake up between 4:45 and like 5, and we get in the Bible together in the morning, and we do an inductive study. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is, but that's been like really fruitful for us.
Yeah.
Just to do an inductive study together and understand just how to observe and interpret scripture and all the things. And then we have a little bit of, coffee together. And then my kids wake up and my brain is like kind of buzzing with caffeine. And I'm like, ooh, these are some of my hot times. And I am doing an individual like study with each of my older 3 girls, because they're 11, 9, and 8. And so basically whatever my wife and I studied, I basically like put into Claude what we studied and then create almost like a kid commentary for each of them.
Yep.
So I'm individually having that time with them. Then pray over the family. We'll do some type of like worship in the living room just to kind of start our day. Pray over the family, and I get to work. Here's what you don't know about what I just said. I am dying inside. I want to work so bad. And so, dude, I like fight myself every single day. I'm like, maybe we can just skip today. Maybe we don't have to do this. Oh, looks like they woke up too late. Like, don't have time today. And so it sounds good from the outside, but it's not about how many hours I work. It's about my priorities and whether things are values or not. And values don't change. And so, number one, like, what is success? Dude, my wife and my kids and myself, we've got to get to heaven. Like, salvation has to be the number one priority. There's too many distractions.
Yeah.
And so no amount of money is going to make my family happy or saved, right?
Yeah.
And no amount of impact that I put on the world with what I do is going to make my kids feel closer to me and like I am a good representation of who God the Father is to them.
Yeah.
And so it all sounds good, what I'm saying, but I struggle, dude. I do it still, but I don't do it with the right heart every day.
Yeah. What are the days where it just clicks? Like, what does it look like for you when you're like, you can actually be fully present in doing that with joy? Because I'm sure those days do come. Like, is there anything that is characteristic of that?
I'm going to give you an honest answer.
Yeah.
Because it's so expensive to have a family of 6
Yeah.
in an economy like this,
Yep.
where my wife stays at home and all the things, like I have to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, the reality is that I am more present and more available with my kids when I have covered the bills. And when I haven't, I have a very difficult time being present. Why is that? Because what's a man for? He's a protector, a provider, and a leader, right? And so I can have a spiritual pulse on my home. I can protect my home and I can lead my home. But if the provisional scale is off, I'm not right. I can't be present. And so when I feel like I am protecting, providing, and leading my family properly, I'm at peace. But when I'm not, I'm not. That's just real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be. I think it's good to be able to identify those things of where our heart actually is.
Yeah.
And then pray for God to change that heart.
Yeah. So when I close a big multiple 5-figure sale, Daddy's present.
Yeah.
I'm present. And that's
Yeah.
bad because I know that like God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. It's all his. But I also know that it does impact my emotions. But not because I want to go and like flaunt money. Just I need to cover what is necessary for my family for me to steward those roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another question that's kind of underlying in that question of how much work is too much work.
Yeah.
Is sort of, it's not necessarily the exact opposite, but how much work is enough too.
Man.
So like, how do I know that I've done enough to be a faithful steward of the time and resources that I've been given with a business? So in a season like this one, which is a planting season, not a harvesting season, it's often hard to know because you don't see the harvest yet, whether you're planting enough seeds or planting them well enough. And so that can be really challenging, and that can reduce that peace that you have, like you mentioned, with your family because you're not certain. There is this interplay, and this is probably going too deep, and so I will try not to get theologically
That's okay.
Beyond myself.
Yeah.
But that balance of like faith and works, right? Like we are saved by grace through faith, but it also says that faith without works is dead. And we were created to do good work, God's workmanship. Trying to find that balance even in like our faith, let alone our work, of how do we make sure like God has done all that is necessary, but he still invites us into work. And he also invites us to be good stewards and not waste the time.
Dude, I got a lot here. Okay. So, Alex Hormozy. So Alex Hormozy says this line about if you were to create a human being and you wanted them to be patient, you would do things that would require patience. If you were to create a human being and you wanted them to have X character trait, you would do things that would require them to build that, right? And as soon as he said that, I was like, dude, I know you're an atheist, but bro, that is biblical. Like God, he makes us grind. He makes us grind, man. Like go back to Genesis. Like you will work and you will sweat, man. Like you will struggle, and the harvest won't always be there. And so, like like He makes us struggle because we learn so much more in failure. We learn so
Right.
much more, and we gain so much more wisdom from the things that went wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. And so the analogy I always think of is I'm just like people will be like, yeah, just whatever the Lord has for me is great. I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? Does that mean that if God tells you to jump off a high dive, you're gonna jump off the high dive and just like sink? Or you're gonna realize He's gonna make you tread water until you can't feel your arms and feel your legs because it's gonna bring dependence back on Him. And so I found that God is like, jump, there's sharks down there. It's gonna be rough. And you are going to feel like you want to die. But also as Christians, like suffering comes in many forms, right? But as Christians, it's just like, dude, we were never supposed to live a life of comfort and lack of suffering. And so when I look at work, it's hard. And so now let me go full circle to what you were saying. How do I know if I've done enough work? Dude, I've done the right things. Usually the hardest thing is the right thing. So I've paid several business coaches, and one in particular said something interesting about categorizing your schedule. He's like, is this a money now activity or a money later activity? Is this you could see a YouTube video that was 2.5 hours and trick yourself into thinking that was work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So could I. But truly, the thing that burns, the thing that's hard is the outreach, the thing that kills my pride, the thing that, what if they don't answer me back or they reject me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the right stuff. And so on my best days, on a Monday, on my best weeks, I'm taking my schedule and I'm laying it out and I'm saying, what would make today insanely good? Not just a sale, but like insanely good. I reached out to X amount of people, or I did this really, really hard thing, not checked analytics on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where I fool myself. And that's where we all fool ourselves. So I think that I'll just reframe the question of like how many hours and stuff and say that might not be the right question for entrepreneurs. It's what did I produce? What did I produce? Because any employee could come and say, I worked 80 hours for you. Yeah. But like, what did you produce?
Right.
So.
Right. The work over outcomes.
Yeah. And when you become an entrepreneur, many of us know when we leave a boss and we have freedom, it's like, dude, you gotta be careful. You have so much freedom that you have no one to be accountable to.
Yeah.
It's like there's not enough money and not enough sales and not enough outreach, not enough X, Y, and Z. And it's just like your wife's like, wait, we can't pay the bills. What'd you do? You know? And so I've learned those things the hard way of really trying to discipline myself and realize that it's a scary place to have too much freedom.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it can lead to a lot of confusion, uncertainty, doubt.
And even addiction.
Sure.
Even addiction, because you're looking for the next dopamine hit, right? And so now you're just like scrolling reels or shorts or whatever, or I'm sure there's a lot of entrepreneurs falling into pornography in the middle of the day and stuff. And dude, there's so many ways to get distracted when we're not like being intentional and creating the discipline up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me put the wheel away. Let's not keep...
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Even though I kind of like
Well, we jumped into a bunch of fun little topics there.
Yeah.
I think that was great.
Okay.
So people are either going to be really intrigued and interested or going to be really like, where were you guys going? But you and I had a fun little adventure there. So
I would say so. Yeah.
So talking about uncertainty, you moved from Ohio to North Carolina, bringing your whole herd of children along with you. And when we first spoke, you mentioned that you signed a lease and don't necessarily feel like clarity that you will continue on even in North Carolina at all after that lease. So how are you navigating a season of uncertainty where you've done this big move Not quite as big as across from San Diego.
Right.
But
You win that, man. More miles for you.
No, you've done this huge move without real, like, it's time to set roots, but more like this could just be a season. So how are you processing that? What does that look like?
Yeah, man. It's interesting. We read in the Bible how the Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years. And you're like, wow, it's crazy. And you turn the page.
Yeah.
But when you've experienced wandering in the desert,
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to be faithful and God hasn't revealed the picture to you, it's just always the next painful step.
Yep.
And so I think it's just step by step. But honestly, there's an element of we've been here before.
Sure.
God has been faithful, and we've been obedient with aggressive things in the past. I look back on our first big decision of bringing my wife home, and it didn't make sense. I didn't have money to do it, but we did it anyway. I'm just like, man, Lord, I'm so grateful that you pushed us into that, and we did it. And then we saw you were faithful, and then the next decision and the next decision. So I say all of that to say that we would have never moved from everything we knew. Amazing church, amazing community group, big, beautiful house, all the things. We would have never moved if we wouldn't have made those decisions prior to. And so now we're just in a place where, I mean, we're kind of veterans when it comes to the risk game where we're at right now. I mean, I'm going to be 36, I don't know, next week.
There you
And
go.
I have tons more to learn, man. But we already have a story, and we already have a story of God's faithfulness. And I mean, he's ringing us out, man. So I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
We are still wandering in the desert, and he's providing manna.
Yeah.
And I enjoy my work. And for me, a win is when clients win, and I know that eventually will just continue to have cascading effects.
Yeah. So are you guys proactively, like, do you view North Carolina as a season stepping stone, or do you view this season as like, God, are we supposed to build here and plant here? Like, how do you mentally approach it? Because, I'll give a little more, like, we moved from California, had a very similar, like, all of our family was there. We had good community. We had a lot of things that the average person would wonder, why would you move? But sometimes when you look backward, like, we wouldn't have moved if we could have afforded what we felt like we needed to do for our family.
Yeah.
If we could have jumped from our $1,700 mortgage, because we were blessed with when we buy all that different stuff in this small home, if we could move from that to $5,000 a month, which is what we would have needed to move into the next size house and provide for our family, we wouldn't have left. And so I think sometimes when you have that, it's easy to look backward and go like, I'm going to do this just as a stepping stone to maybe allow us to go back somewhere, which is not the perspective we have, but it's an easy one to have. So hopefully that gives a little more context for you. Like, how are you viewing this season?
Yeah. I've never publicly explained this, but are you familiar with Chris Williamson?
I know who that is.
Chris Williamson was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He said something that hit me hard. He said, when you are shooting for growth, you will enter a lonely chapter where you don't yet exist with the people that you want to be in those circles. And the people behind you don't fit in there either. And so leaving Ohio was because, number one, we leveraged our home for equity for the business because we felt like God was really calling us into this podcast thing.
Yep.
And there were more details there. But leaving Ohio, I think we did recognize we were in a lonely chapter. Not where we didn't love the people that we were with, but we were just living entirely different lives. So it was like, I can't get too conservative. I can't get too comfortable. And so in leaving that, I think that moving here, we knew we had to, and now we are still in the process of trying to figure out kind of where we belong as a family. But it's been good.
Yeah.
I've got more clarity on business and in the direction that we need to go. And honestly, we're a family who loves to host people and have people over and stuff like that and do life with people. But we're built different. Like we kind of have to have our space and be faithful to what God's calling us to. Does that answer it?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent,
it's kind of
I mean, if I were to summarize, it does seem like you're still in a season of just uncertainty and trusting, like,
yes,
hey, this may not be the end game, but it's something that God did put in your path for a reason now.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have those ones where it's hard to know. Like that's been something that's a challenge on occasion for us is there's been a lot of fruit, specifically spiritually, in this season of being out here. Some things that we've been able to work through as a family that I think we needed the space and time, even the time for me to just slow down work-wise.
Yes.
There's been ministry things that I've been able to step into here that I just wasn't able to or hadn't found the path to back in California. But there's still things that pull back, right? Like I may or may not have mentioned this to you, but a week from this upcoming Monday, May 18th, my dad passed away.
Oh, man.
And right now, this time last year, I was sitting in a hospital for 9 days, not knowing that he would eventually pass. And, I promised to him on his deathbed that I would take care of my mom, and she's there. And my sister's out there, and there are ways that I can still support her from here. But there's those tensions of like, I'm promising to my deceased father that I'm going to care for her. And it's harder from here.
Sure.
When things happen, it's hard. And there's relationships and things that I've poured into for years there that I can still invest in, but it's not to the same level. And so I think when you make a big move, you're always going to have these tensions of, did I make the ultimate right decision? Or like, should I go back? And that happened in a different sense when I planted a church in Portland, Oregon, and we got to a season where there was an opportunity to move back near family, and had to wrestle with like, is God done with me where I'm at? I kind of saw this as potentially forever. And now it seems like maybe I'm supposed to move. So yeah, it's something that's hard to wrestle with and have that clarity. And I think at least how I'm wired, I want to have clarity on all of the next steps. Like I'm going to do them all. Like I'll trust you, Lord, in them, but I'd like to know so I can plan accordingly.
Yeah.
And I think it's sometimes hard when you're in that, like, especially like renting a home, not sure whether to renew that or not. Like, Is this the right thing?
Yeah, man. I wish I had the answer. You're right. There are a ton of sacrifices, just leaving everything but also, again, entrepreneurs are built different. Like if God's truly called you to entrepreneurship, how many entrepreneurial stories do you see where people just like leave comfort? Because we were comfortable.
Yeah.
We were comfortable until we reached a point where God stripped it from us. God stripped Ohio from us because I needed to sell my house. I needed to use equity. We went through like a tremendous amount of just one thing after the other that just beat us down all the way.
Stripped it financially, you mean?
Yeah, for sure. And so in selling our house, we had a choice. It was either sell the house, stay in Ohio, but we also knew, again, that lonely chapter, like, we love these people, but we don't fully fit in as far as like the vision that we have moving forward, which sucks, but it's just true. So like, I hate to say it, being in that chapter and then also being financially stripped of it was a tough decision. And what's crazy is right before we sold our house, like business picked back up. And so we actually had to be under contract. There's a story behind it, but it took us some time where we were in doubt. We're just like, oh Lord, are we sure this is it? Like, this is really hard. We got all these kids and we're trying to show this big, huge house and all this stuff. And it was so difficult. We're running out of money. We're living off of credit. Like, there were all these really, really tough things happening. And my mentor told me, he goes, as soon as the house is under contract, watch what happens. I was like, okay. Literally the day it was under contract, I'm getting calls from people. Dude, I didn't know you did this. And starting to get work again. And so if it wasn't under contract, we probably could have stayed. But God literally worked it out. So we still had to leave.
Did you ever consider breaking the contract?
No.
Or did you have enough resolve that point to
no,
go like,
because it was still a tremendous amount of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Of like, could this continue? And as soon as I got the advice of like, hey man, you got equity in that big, beautiful house, like take it, use it, get some breathing room. It felt like the right decision. Yeah.
One of the things I just come back to over and over again is some of the biggest things that have happened in my life are on the opposite side of surrender.
Dude.
Like once you finally surrender something, and that doesn't mean necessarily like the biggest financial benefits or stuff, but the things that God does in and through your heart when you surrender those things to Him. And man, like, I don't think everyone should move across the country and leave everything.
I would not recommend.
But like the amount I've grown in 2 years is exponential compared to if I had stayed.
And you guys moved what month?
July 1st, 2024.
So funny. We moved May 2024.
Okay, so right before us.
So we're a little over 2 years.
Yeah, it was.
As of last week, actually, was our 2 year anniversary.
Nice.
Here in North Carolina.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
So I have a random aside that I want to discuss, and this is just more out of curiosity for myself. When I was prepping, getting ready for this conversation, I was going through your LinkedIn, and I came across one of your most recent posts on LinkedIn, and you had hundreds of likes and many comments on this post. And I looked back through all your other posts, and we're talking like 50, 100x engagement compared to the majority of your posts. So we'll call this a viral moment for you.
Apparently it got like 50,000 impressions. When I looked the other day, I was like, whoa.
So
it was viral.
Having a viral moment, and that you can still, some of the benefits or negatives or causes of what happens after could still be coming. This is like a week ago or something. But how do you process a viral moment like that, where all of a sudden something just clicks with an audience, much broader than your standard stuff? Did you learn anything from that? And was there actual tangible benefit, like people who came into your network who are now potential clients or anything like that? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I have not tried to post a lot on LinkedIn, just kind of like here and there, not really trying to do much. I had a few times where I was like, yeah, sure, let me share a little bit of my story, but no real expectation. The benefit of a post like this popping off is it's just credibility for when someone goes to my profile. They'll see something that I hope they align with. If you read that post and you are anti-homeschool and you are anti-large family and you are anti-God, like, we shouldn't connect anyway.
Yeah.
But if you are the opposite, if you lean into those things, then that post will be very helpful for me as a pinned post on my LinkedIn when someone goes and checks it out, and they will know what I think, what I believe, and how I operate as a father with my oldest daughter. And so I was grateful that it started to move, and I got a bunch of profile views and all that stuff. But from a viral perspective, like that, all that stuff just kind of comes and goes. I'm thankful I can pin it, and now it shows really good engagement, which will be helpful for business.
So is that the primary value you saw of it, is just having a piece that shows credibility?
I would say after the fact, yes.
Yeah.
Truthfully. Just from like an entrepreneurial perspective, if you, well, let me just break down a little bit of the psychology of people who don't know you and now meeting you. So generally speaking, if you cold message somebody, let's say I cold message you, okay, and you don't know who I am, what's the first thing you're doing?
Popping over to their profile,
right?
See who they are.
Okay, and what we know from that in many cases is there are 3 potential thoughts going through your head in this order. Number 1, is this person safe? Is this person someone I can trust? Is this person someone that's safe? Is this a whack looking profile where I'm just like, okay? Number 1, right? He passes the test. So if your profile is just normal, great, cool. If it's elevated, awesome. Second piece is and this one's funny, but it's real. It's real. Does this person I interact with, are they going to decrease my status as a result of interacting with them? Are they going to increase my status as a result of interacting with them? Right? That's a thought that goes through people's head, right? So a viral post, well, what's it going to do? It's going to slightly increase your status.
Sure.
Okay. And then the third piece is, could this person potentially solve a problem for me?
Yep.
Or is there mutual benefit here at all?
Yep.
So that's kind of the psychology behind a cold message to someone, them coming to your profile and all that. Not every time. Usually really wealthy people are way more casual about it and not thinking that. But people who are like in the grind, trying to grow their business and stuff, that's typically what's going through their head.
Yeah. So when you have that moment, and if you're anything like me, you probably went and kept checking every once in a while to see like, how's this thing popping off? Is it still going? Does that make you then go like, what's the next post I can do that'll pop off? Or do you see it as like just man, that was kind of cool. Like, let's just do business as usual.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I'll give you like context behind the post. Me and my wife had just got done with our Bible study. She was in the kitchen making some eggs, and our daughter's birthday was coming up, and I was just thinking like, man, I'm so proud of her. Like, just really, really cool. And I just started typing. I didn't even think about it. I didn't pre-plan it or anything. I just started typing. And then I was like, hey, babe, I think I'm going to put this up. And I read it to her. And she's like, yeah, that's pretty good. I was like, yeah, I think so too. And I put it up. And I expected like a little bit of engagement because I thought it was a good post. And a couple hours in, nothing. And I was like, I thought that was a good post, but whatever. I just moved on with my day. Yeah. And then I got done with a few meetings and then it just exploded. And so after it exploded, I thought to myself, the algorithms are liking me right now. I could put some posts together and stuff. But honestly, man, like I chose not to. I chose not to.
That's probably wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to want to just jump in and like take advantage of everything.
Yeah. It was a real post. I didn't put it through AI or anything like that. I just went line by line. Like, this is what I know and I believe about my daughter, and it resonated with people, and I was glad. And that was it. But yeah, now I have it as a bit of a billboard that kind of fits with all the things on my LinkedIn. So
yeah.
I'm happy about it.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're nearing the end of this. We're going to jump into one that I told you about beforehand that we've done in all the episodes: best, worst, most edifying. And so again, just for resetting up, what's the best job And that could be as simple as like just being a podcast host. Like if I could do that all the time, that would be the best.
Yeah.
Or it could be a specific role you had at a company. It could be the first thing you ever did for work. Worst, what is something that you've done for work that if God blessed you with the ability to never have to do it again, you could avoid, and why? And then most edifying, which of your jobs has most shaped you spiritually and drawn you closer or closest to him?
Yeah.
Start with best.
I mean, a variation of what I'm doing now.
Yep.
Between hosting, between coaching, there's nothing that fills me more than, it's like I brought this executive coach on as a client and I built him a show. And he'd been an executive coach for all these people. And I took him through this 7 levels of why exercise to try to really figure out what type of a show he wanted to build and just really get into the details. Afterwards, he's like, that was one of the best sessions I've ever had. And he's like, you're a phenomenal coach. And he's just encouraging me. I love coaching.
Yeah.
Because I love to share value, not because I want to look, I don't care. Like if you think I have wisdom, I appreciate that, but I want to share value. And so I love coaching. I really do. When I know something and someone needs help with that, I love it. Like that's definitely the most fulfilling thing for me. Podcast hosting is great because I get to be curious and understand people's world.
Yeah.
I'm never on this end, by the way. It's so funny. I'm never on this end. And so this has been enjoyable.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say coaching within what I'm doing, building the magnetic angles that we're building and doing the research and figuring out like what's really going to pop for a client and who exactly do they need to get a hold of and just having their circle and just over delivering. Like AI allows you to over deliver right now in the greatest way.
Yeah.
So you surprise a client with something that's not a deliverable and they're like, wow, thanks. I'm like, yeah, 100%, you know? It took me 2 hours and I tweaked it a little bit. It's totally worth it because it's huge value to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the best.
Worst.
This one's tough because it was a season that we really needed in our lives big time. When I was working for my brother, actually. And it was during COVID and I was broke and he was like, just real fast story on this.
Yeah.
It was during COVID and I remember driving down the road and I'm like, my mortgage is due. It's the 15th of the month. I have no more days left until it is late. I've never been late on my mortgage. I don't have the money for it. It was like $2,000 and I don't have the money for it. And my brother calls me out of the blue and he's like, hey man. He's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm all right. How are you? And he owned a business and he was just like, no. Like, how are you? I know the world's crazy right now. I was like, we're struggling financially. He's like, well, let me loan you some money. I was like, nope. I don't have a plan to pay you back, dude. Like, that's suicide. He's like, no. Let me give you some money. I was like, no. And he's like, well, I've been thinking starting this commercial division for my landscaping company. Like, maybe you could do some calls for me. I was like, boom, I'll take that deal. So he zells me over money for my mortgage. Dude, we literally pay our mortgage at $459 on the 15th of the month. Crazy, right? Here's why I share that with you. I started paying that debt off to him by doing cold calls for him. I just kept going, 70 cold calls a day. And then it turned into like, hey, I think I want to like hire you for more. And then I became full-time and I ended up helping him scale his landscaping business. Like I think we scaled it 2.4 million in 20 months from that job. It was the worst job because it crushed my relationship with my brother. And it was, while it was financially amazing for us, it was very, very hard to work with my brother. Like it was good to work with him, but it eventually affected that relationship. And we're building back, but
yeah,
that's why.
What about it crushed it? Was it communication? Was it?
Because he overextended me, like in the worst type of way. I just kept saying yes. And the scope creep just improved, just kept going to the point where I was like, I feel like I have 5 jobs. and it didn't end well. And so that ended up being the worst job because of the scope creep and how committed I was to it, but how I literally could not balance all the things he was asking me to do.
Yeah. That's hard.
So that was the worst, unfortunately. But God used it, and that's how we bounced back after COVID.
Yeah.
In a really awesome way.
And then most edifying.
Well, business in general, like when you own your own, it's up to you. And so again, as a Christian, I get to pass that burden to God, and I'm like, Lord, help me, help me. And so I think my faith has grown as a result of so many situations that we've been in, where it's just like God had to show up. Like there was no other way.
Yeah. And
so definitely entrepreneurship in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
For sure. Now I had more balance, and I had more margin, and I had more. I'm trying to think back to that season when I was working for my brother, making money. I didn't have to like rely on like making money that week for my family type of thing like I do as an entrepreneur. Maybe I'll just say entrepreneurship has been obviously the most refining.
Yeah. It is. It's one that really digs deep.
Yeah, it does.
It does. So I asked you before we did this, like, what's a scripture that you hold tight to, one that you come back to? So I have it here, so I'll read it out, and then I'd just love to hear why. So Matthew 6:33, and I added 34 on there as well. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious about itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. So this whole section in the Sermon on the Mount is about anxiety. So why does that, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness verse, stand out so much to you?
Because there's so many reasons. The world would tell me that I don't have time to do devotions with my kids. I don't have time. I should wake up and get straight to work. I don't have time to get into the study with my wife. I don't have time. And so that one continually plays in my mind. Just like, man, seek first the kingdom and all else will be added. Like, this is what God's given you to steward. Your kids, your wife, like, these are the eternal things. And so that is like my life's verse right now. Every time I feel like, oh no, I don't have time to do this, or okay, wrap the story up, I gotta get back to the office. All of those things, it's just like, no, Lord, please help me.
Yeah.
Help me to seek first your kingdom and what you've given me to steward, and seek your righteousness, and not be so obsessed with thinking it's all up to me.
Love it. Awesome. Well, we jumped through a bunch of different topics. we took some unique turns and went through some stuff, but I think that was a lot of good stuff. And I think it's a great conversation to not only challenge us, but challenge those who are listening on how they view what they're doing, where they invest their times, really putting their foot down on things that are important. Yeah. You say yellow lines?
Bright yellow lines.
Bright yellow lines.
Bright yellow, like, they're very obvious, they're very clear, and you just don't cross them.
Yeah.
You just don't cross them.
And so thank you so much for coming on today. For anyone who is interested in working with you or knowing more about your business, where can they learn more?
Yeah. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and you'll find all the website links from there. And then also on Facebook. I as active on those, but I have a presence there, and I answer messages and things through those channels. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. And for all those of you who listen to this episode, hopefully it's been encouraging to you and challenging. And if there are things that you would like to hear talked about on this show, or people you want to hear from, let us know. And thanks so much. And we'll see you in the next one.